So my basic premise is that PM's primary job is to define that problem space, as stated here. Design's primary job is to help explore the solution space before coding begins, right? And it's not like saying, hey, no, you can't butt in and do my stuff. They can help each other, obviously, right? If you're going to do solution space, you better understand the problem space. But if, it's basically, and obviously it's only by working together that they can iterate through the problem space and solution space to come up with that best solution. What about engineering? We kind of have this great love fest between PM and design. Where does engineering fit in? Well, they're also in the solution space, right? So if design is picking how it should behave and look and feel, engineering actually is the one who builds it, right? And so they actually build the functionality that enables that behavior that you've spec'd out. They actually implement that visual design that you did and do all the other technical stuff that's important. And so they obviously should be involved earlier versus just, hey, here's our mock-up, throw it over the fence so that you can talk about feasibility and ROI of what you're doing. And the bottom line here for startups, mock-up cycles are cheaper than coding cycles. I've seen this, and I'm going to walk through a quick case example of this, where we did all this product validation without a single line of code, and it saved a lot of engineering effort. One last point on this stuff is basically, Al and I were talking about what's more valuable to startup, a specialist or a generalist. And part of the issue here is that when you're at a startup, there's tons to do and limited resources, which means people that can wear many hats are more valuable and useful, and they need that, right? And so I'm not saying all designers are specialized, but in general they tend to be more specialized. Someone will say, I'm an IA person, or I'm an ID person, or I don't do visual design, And so they're more specialized. And product managers, in general, not everyone, tends to be a little broader. They can be fuzzier. Say, yeah, I kind of used to work in marketing. Oh, I kind of do project management. Oh, I kind of do this. And I think that's why you see more full-time product managers at early-stage startups. And so another thing that comes up, like I'm CEO of a startup, if the demand for your time is less than a full person, I can't hire you. If I have like 10 hours a week of UI work, I'm not going to hire you as a full-time job. And you become project-based work, not a job. And I think that's part of what happens too. If you think about the full skill, here's just a sampling of all the skills required to pull off a good product, right? All the way from copywriting to product planning to user research, wireframes, all this jazz, right? And so if you just kind of think about what's your breadth on the spectrum, right? And so like a PM would be centered around here, and maybe you go a little that way or that way, and a UI person would be here. The broader you are, the more useful you are to a startup, I would argue. And some of the best UI designers I know started with a background in graphic design and then went all the way even to learn front-end coding to do interactive prototypes with jQuery, for example, and went all the way up to, getting more savvy about some of the user research methodology. So, okay, to end, I'm just going to do a quick case study where I did this. It was just basically me and a UI design contractor. His name's Ryan Donahue, actually CEO of Bookfresh. So he came from UI design and actually became a CEO of a startup. This CEO of this startup hired me and him, and with the head of marketing, the four of us formed a team. They had an idea for a new product that they wanted to validate. Yeah, cool. Let me go back to, okay, cool. So basically their product concept was this marketing report that would let you somehow manage the direct marketing that you get in the mail. And the concept honestly was very fuzzy between the two people in the company. And so I split it into two flavors. One was the shield. It's a marketing shield that protects you from junk mail. The other was a saver where you're kind of opting in to get money-saving offers. And then we got feedback on these modules. We basically just did mock-ups, paper mock-ups. The designer did them. I couldn't have done them. And then we got feedback.
Adolfo here to tell you about a great company called GoDaddy.com. Go to GoDaddy, register a domain name, get a hosting plan, get 10% off, and use the code STALKER1. That's the code STALKER1. You'll be helping us out, and you'll be helping yourself out. 10% off with the code STALKER1.
And so what we did at the beginning is actually even just an exercise of clustering the user benefits. So this is, again, problem space, solution space. So one of the ideas was, what do they know about you? Like this whole conspiracy theory, what do they know about you? And we'll give you a marketing report so you can see, and you can see your score and your profile. And then there were these ideas of money-saving offers, compare yourself to other people, and social networking. And then this whole reduce junk mail, save trees kind of cluster over here. And so when we clustered them into concepts, that's how they clustered. So this was common to both of the prototypes, the mock-ups we came up with. So the point is we did one set of mock-ups for the orange and one set of mock-ups for the blue. And so here's an example. This was the whole save money. We just did a landing page. I mean, he just did this in Illustrator or Photoshop, and we just ran groups. We got focus groups together. I'll talk about that in a sec. And then we had little modules on the page. That's how we had the common modules versus different modules that would basically highlight each of the concepts. So we did a telephone recruit of prospective customers, to get the feedback. I wrote the screener just using my gut on psychographic segmentation. I said, okay, if you're up for the money-saving offers, you probably use coupons already. You probably go to Costco. If you're anti-junk mail, you probably use a paper shredder. You probably have caller block ID, block caller ID. And it worked. It really worked. You could see the difference in the two groups. We basically did triads, 3 people for 3 groups for each concept, 90 minutes. We moderated it, got their feedback, and it was really good. So here's red, yellow, green on what people liked, what they didn't like. They hated most of the saver stuff. What really resonated was this whole reduce junk mail, save trees thing. And so basically we learned about what they didn't like. Within the shield concept, which was the better one, we learned what their objections or concerns were. And the CEO was like, wow, that was great. Okay, cool. And I was like, hey, can we just do a second round? Let's take our learnings and iterate. And so we did that. We did a reduced set. And all the objections were addressed. No one raised any objections. And they just nodded their head and they say, yeah, I'd pay $10 a month for that. Just by doing 2 rounds of research, basically. And so here's the kind of final finished product, junk mail freeze. And we're also testing Marcom and calls to action. And people were really happy with that. Not a single line of coding had been done, right? So it took us 4 weeks, cost $1,500 because we paid each person $75 for their time, 1 round of iteration, 0 coding, trimmed away the fat that didn't matter, and solved the objection. So that's an example when PM and UI get together that can really validate something before a single line of code has been written, and I think really make sure that what you're building is going to meet user needs. So in summary, basically, at startups that have engineers, whether you adding either a PM or a designer is very beneficial. And if you're lucky enough to have both, that's awesome. So that you don't have any of that gap that we were talking about. Mock-up cycles are faster and cheaper than code. Product managers' focus should be problem space, product strategy and requirements, scoping, prioritization, business goals, and marketing. Designers should be focusing on that rapid mock-up and prototyping, IAID, visual design, the typical skills that they have. And then both should be listening to customers, looking at product metrics, working with engineering to build a great product. And just the last point is just that startups, basically in general, generalists are more valuable than specialists. So at the end of the day, we're really a dynamic duo. We're not fighting. We can be a dynamic duo. And if you want to follow up with any questions, we'll take questions at the end. That's my contact info. And as Joshua said, I'm CEO and founder of YourVersion.com. It's a consumer website that lets you discover the latest content related to your interests. We have a free iPhone app, so I'd encourage you to check it out and ask me any questions you have. So I'll turn it over to Al. I'll turn it back to Josh to introduce Al. Thanks.